In Columbia, Lancaster County, an entire block has been evacuated after questions arose over the structural soundness of the homes. Karen Johnston reports tonight that the problem stems from a water main break earlier this week.
They asked the people to move.
Authorities started to evacuate this downtown Columbia neighborhood early this afternoon. The houses in the 200 block of South 4th Street have shifted so much that the WAs couldn't get through their front door, and that's not all.
I heard these funny noises all night. It must have been the plaster falling down. I saw cracks all over the place.
The walls are all cracking. Basement floors are cracking. If I was in one of them homes, I wouldn't stay there. It's simple as that. It's not safe.
The problems all started late Thursday night when this water main broke. Officials say the water was gushing for nearly 2 hours, sending out 1,000 gallons of water a minute. The water company shut the water off, but by that time the damage had already been done. The rushing current swept away all the dirt and forced this whole sidewalk to cave in. Residents say this isn't the first time they've had problems like this. The for sale signs along the street ought to give you the hint. The Fritzes are just a few of the people trying to sell.
Now, with this situation, I doubt it'll be sold for a long time.
Authorities are digging up the main right now, looking for any more leaks. In the meantime, residents say they plan to stay with relatives tonight. In Columbia, Karen Johnston, News Center 8.
Their home has shifted and cracked.
There's one that runs the entire length of that wall there, right in the corner.
Geologists and others have linked the problems to large sinkholes, which were uncovered when workers started digging to repair a broken water main. But so far, no one is willing to pinpoint that as an exact cause.
A little bit frustrating. You know, we don't know what's happening or what's going to happen.
But another family isn't waiting to see what's going to happen. With help from their landlord, Jerry and Lori Williams started moving out all of their belongings from their rented home on the same block.
We're moving just in case the houses would go. All my stuff is out, and I don't have to, worry about going back for it.
Think I can get a couple lights in there?
Yeah.
The Williams and the Waws are staying here at the Pleasant View Motel at the expense of the Lancaster County Red Cross. Normally, in a case like this, the Red Cross would pay for 2 nights' stay. But the disaster coordinator says in this case, they're just going to have to take it one day at a time. And that's just what residents who are still living on South 4th Street are doing, since the problems seem to be moving up the block. They say they never know if they'll also be told they should leave their homes. In Columbia, Lancaster County, Susan Shapiro, News Center 8.
Well, many of the residents plan to attend a borough council meeting scheduled to start in about an hour. They hope to find out what the borough and the privately owned Columbia Water Company are planning to do about the situation.
With his agent.
He said you really they can't cover earth movement, as in God's nature or God's act or something. Yeah, Mother Nature.
Meanwhile, people in this Columbia neighborhood are nervously pondering a number of questions. Whose home is next? Where will it all end? And who ultimately will bear the responsibility? Bill Saylor, News Center 8.
The test borings Bill referred to could begin in a matter of hours, and meanwhile, the 200 block of South 4th Street is still blocked off.
Tonight at 20...
Stone and dirt beneath the homes. That's when it all began.
We have is cracks in the front wall of our house, like the wall is pulling away. We have cracks in the basement wall. And there are gas lines in the house, so we're kind of concerned if anything does shift, what will happen with the gas lines.
The Haltemans and 7 other families had to evacuate. Most are staying at a nearby hotel until engineers inspect their homes to see if they're safe to live in. But many are concerned that the houses are still shifting and that going back home may be a long way off.
We have nowhere to go at the time. We have to hunt another place to live.
Besides being an inconvenience, the big washout could prove costly for those families who are paying mortgages on homes that they cannot live in and might be too hard to sell. The families say that each day they notice more cracks in the ceilings and walls. Meantime, the borough, faced with many unknown factors, has called in ground experts.
They would drill down into the street, do some borings to see how solid the subsurface is, and if their opinion will be any more settlement. And that's what we'd have to wait for, to see if there's going to be any more settlement. And any settlement, obviously, in the street would cause more settlement of the houses. And before people move back in, we have to assure ourselves that nobody's going to be in danger.
The geologist test will determine just how unstable the ground is beneath these homes. Until then, there is very little that the city or the residents that had to evacuate can do, but hope for the best. In Columbia, Jim Huffer, Action News 15.
Try to learn if the homes are in danger of collapse. A water main break in the borough last week washed away much of the ground beneath those homes. And Philadelphian Walter pleads
tomorrow to work on a street that's collapsing and threatening some homes. Susan Hazlitt attended tonight's meeting of the Columbia Borough Council.
Many residents of South 4th Street attended the meeting, expecting Borough Council to authorize an engineering study to find out what's causing the ground to settle and their houses to fall apart. But councilmen didn't do that. Instead, they set up a 3-member panel who will pick a geological engineering firm to investigate the situation.
The borings will go into the subsurface of the area on South 4th Street to see what type of material is underneath, whether it's porous, whether it's solid, whether there's a cavern down there, whether there's a fault that exists, or whether if any damage has been done subsurface. We just want to get the people back in their homes as soon as possible.
The engineering work could cost the borough as much as $20,000. Since the problem began Saturday, 5 families have been evacuated from their homes. Many residents fear the problem could get worse, but officials believe the core boring will help them decide how to solve the problem, and they expect to have the evacuated families back in their homes in about a week. Susan Hazlitt, Channel 27 News, Columbia.
to see if they're in danger of collapse. Meanwhile, Borough Manager Gary Myers has closed off the block. Myers says the borings will continue until the problem is fully defined.
Move under a Columbia-Lancaster County neighborhood. A team of geologists has been hired to try to come up with an answer. The problem began after a water line ruptured last Friday. As OACA reports, so far the shifting earth has affected 9 homes.
The work being done by these geologists may answer the questions surrounding the shifting of homes along South 4th Street in Columbia. Test borings to pull samples from the ground beneath these homes began in the afternoon. As the work to discover the source of this problem continues, the concern of the people who left their homes is growing. Christmas is normally a time of togetherness, but the Waugh family is facing Christmas living in separate homes.
Melanie and I will be staying with our boss who we work with. She said we could stay with her, and the rest of the family would be split up with relatives and stuff.
The family left its home Saturday as the cracks in the walls began to grow. Worried about when you're going to be able to move back in?
I don't think we'll be able to, but I don't know when we'll be able to get our stuff out.
2 more families have now left their 4th Street homes, bringing the total to 7 evacuated houses. The ground samples will show geologists more about what's underneath this street and these homes. It might be rock, dirt, or open spaces. Once they know, they'll know more about how to solve the problem. Borough officials will not have the results of the test borings for several days, and that means at least several more uneasy days on 4th Street. In Columbia, Lancaster County, Zoa Kyle, News Center 8.
Points the cause of a subsidence in Lancaster County. But tonight's unveiling of the long-awaited study of what caused the foundation cracking subsidence in Columbia, Lancaster County also unveiled very expensive solutions.
Borough Council chambers were filled with residents and officials waiting for answers to questions of what caused the sinkhole in the 200 block of South 4th Street, what could be done to fix the problem, and who should pay for it. Consulting engineer Felix Kitlinski answered the first 2 questions, but not the third.
It's considered to be a result of the 6-inch water main break with a motivating force in the form of water. I'm repeating this, it'll jet away the soil into these lower lying voids and you lose support.
Some of the people who left their homes when the subsidence appeared in December moved back in after assurances there was no danger of collapse. Many of those people were at the meeting to hear what could be done for them. What they heard involved big numbers. Kitlinski outlined a program to shore up the limestone underpinning of the existing homes at a cost of $3.1 million. His recommendation was to establish a redevelopment authority to buy the homes, tear them down, fill in the sinkhole, and rebuild at a cost of $1.5 million. The council made no decision about what to do, and Solicitor Robert Fannebecker cautioned that there was a complex legal question surrounding whether the water main break caused the subsidence or vice versa. No one from the privately owned Columbia Water Company was there to state the utilities position. The end result was residents leaving the meeting with only partial satisfaction.
I'm satisfied with the report that Mr. Kitlinski gave us this evening. I'm very dissatisfied with the water company not having any type of representation here at all.
Well, I'm very disgusted with the town itself, the Borough Council.
I feel they could have done more, and it's one of those things that I know the water company don't want to take the responsibility because it could happen to more homes.
So it looks like a long, drawn-out process still ahead the residents of Columbia Borough and Lancaster County, and the obvious follow-up to that story is to find out what the water company has to say. Carol?